Okay, so I'm thinking that we should call this class Fundamentals of Judaism, because that's pretty much what it is. This book is all about the basics. Chaim Donin Halevi's book to be a Jew, and if you read the foreword, it's been around for a very long time. It was republished 19 years after it was first published and 10 years after he passed away. But it continues to be a highly recommended book. It's called To Be a Jew, a Guide to Jewish Observance in Contemporary Life, and it's said to be an introduction to Judaism for those seeking to understand Jewish beliefs, practices, and the meaning behind them. And it's meant for Jews who don't know much about Judaism, or also Jews who are getting married and they want to, kind of uh, start with a good foundation in their marriage, and if especially if they want to put their Judaism um, forefront. And also, it's a highly recommended book for potential converts. So we usually ask people to read it, but I think a lot of people want just more intimate, more uh, like conversational type study instead of just independent study. So that's why we did this. And the first part of at least chapter one. Well, first, before I go into chapter one, Rav Safa and Rav Tzalyahu, did you want to say anything? Did anything stand out to you in the foreword or in the preface or in the introduction to the book?
Um, Not particularly that I wanted to go into. It sets the stage for the basic background coming up to, chapter one and the cornerstones of Judaism. But it's interesting to read, and I think people should definitely go back and read it themselves, because it helps set the stage for the book.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
like. Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I think the overall theme is in the preface. It was written by, I believe, Dr. Norman Lamb
Yeah.
of Yeshiva University, and he says something that's familiar story, and he tells a story of the Talmud where a proselyte comes to Hillel, and he asked him to teach him the Torah standing on one foot, and he says, "What is hateful to you, do not do to others." And this, the whole Torah, the rest is commentary. Go and study it. And so then they go on to say that this is their attempt to go and fill in the rest. But we have to have that, love our neighbor as ourselves, and the rest is a study, and it's not just tonight or tomorrow. It's a lifetime study. There's a joke that you become a Jew, and the first thing you get is the mikveh, and then they give you a book, right? And then you start acquiring books, and it's all about studying and growing, and it's about growth. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you may go back one day and then go two steps forward and one step back. It's okay. It's a process. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the part where in the foreword where it talks about how that that it's there's this thing in at least in Judaism it seems where the author becomes synonymous with his book. So we have the Chofetz Chaim. We call him the Chofetz Chaim, but his name is not Chofetz Chaim. His name is what is his name? Sorry, I don't even I forget his real name.
might as
Um,
well be.
Will that be done?
no, it's not Rabbi Doan. Oh, his real name was Rabbi Israel Meir HaKohen, but everyone just
Mm.
refers to him as the Hofetz Chaim, and because that's what he titled his book. Hofetz Chaim means desire of life. or the lover of life, or he who loves life, he who desires life. And everyone just calls him Chofetz Chaim, though. And Chaim Donin Halevi, his signature work is this book, To Be a Jew. And then I was also thinking, who else is like that? I was thinking in the Bible, we have Moshe and his Torah. We call it the Law of Moses, right? That's what we say in English, or Torat Moshe in Hebrew. Is it really his Torah? Not really. I mean, he supposedly wrote it down, but it's Hashem's, right? We we call it Hashem's Torah, but we often also call it the Torah of Moshe. Especially in Christianity, they're like, oh no, that's Moses' Torah, kind of condescendingly though. And then we when we talk about the Gospels too, it's you know we when we think about the Gospels, we think about Yeshua. So that's and then we think about Proverbs, of course, we think about Solomon, and so on and so forth. So they're like synonymous, and it's like, wow, that's really interesting. Okay, so in chapter 1, it's about understanding our heritage, and 3 key points is that the word Hebrew, Israelite, and Jew are synonymous, and this has been true since the days of the Bible, all throughout history, since the days of Mordecai, right? It's called him Mordecai the Jew, but yet he was not. He was of the tribe of Benjamin. He wasn't of the tribe of Judah. And the reason why all Jews are called Jewish, even though they may be of a different tribe, is because the northern tribes split, and then Judah and everyone who remained faithful with Judah to the Torah, basically, and didn't go off into idolatry with the northern tribes, they kept the name of the most powerful tribe, which was the tribe of Judah. And I think this was prophetic also because it was prophesied that out of the 12 sons, Judah would have the scepter. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, their father said. And so it was meant to be this way. It was meant to be that, it's like we're being called by our king's name, right? Judah. The king is Judah, so we're Jewish. And then Israel became synonymous for the Israelites who lost faith. So did you want to say anything about that, Atzayahu or Tsafa?
So, just if I'm correct here, so it would be like the house of Isaac and the house of Judah, in a sense.
Israel and Judah.
So the Israel and Judah, for the most part, it's interesting when you go and you read the Tanakh, especially if you haven't done it in a while. Things will pop out at you. I would encourage everybody to go read through, the Torah, of course, every year, but also read through the Tanakh and the different writings and different commentaries as well. But definitely the Tanakh. And in the Tanakh, there's all these stories of our heritage, right? And the last time I read through, I had completely forgot that from the beginning, Judea and there was a division between Judah and the rest. Judah would be Judah, a portion of the Levites, Benjamin,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and there was a half tribe, I believe, and the rest were in the northern tribes. And it wasn't until almost the very end of David's reign that he was able to bring everybody under one umbrella. There was constant wars, and it was under Shlomo Amelech, King Solomon, that he was able to unify the kingdom, and that only lasted until his death, or to his son. What happened after that? But so there was always a division, and that was partially due to a disagreement or a misunderstanding. In the book, it's discussed, and I believe it's one of the Samuels. I apologize, I don't have it exactly, where there's a we talked about this on Shabbat about making sure that we're zealous for the right things. We can be zealous for good things. We can be zealous for bad things. That's why our sages, it seems like, puts in the story of Jephthah, right? Jephthah, where he sacrifices his daughter, basically, figuratively. But there was a misunderstanding of this altar that was set up by Benjamin, and the entire northern tribes came down against Benjamin and almost destroyed Benjamin as a tribe, and it was just a misunderstanding. And after there was reconciliation, but there's always been division in that. So just like there is today, there's a lot of people that are. We have to make a distinction between Israel and what that means. It means all of us collectively as a people. We've got this entity, this political entity right now that is a nation of Israel. And we're so much bigger than that. We can't quantify it to even. So I think the first point that the author is making is that we first got to establish that Israel is a people, and in that means the Jew, right? That's the religion of Israel, is Judaism, right? That's the focal point, and that's our heritage, Israel.
Yeah, and I think that the whole split of the kingdom and everything like that. I think this is also a picture of many people's spiritual journey. When they come to Torah, they come upset, especially from Christianity, because of all the lies that they've inherited. Like, oh, I just want the Torah, I just want the Bible, and they're like, I don't want any of this Jewish stuff, right? But what they don't realize, at least in the beginning, is what they're rejecting thousands of years of history and wisdom from our sages, from people who have been keeping the Torah for thousands of years without fail, without stop. And so by rejecting Judaism as a system, people are rejecting the very hand that has preserved the Torah that they have been drawn to. And I think at first, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people, they become enamored with this, they kind of keep this sola scriptura, very independent, like kind of American independent type of attitude of, I don't need anyone else. I can do this myself. It's just me and God kind of thing. And then they realize that there are a lot of things that you're supposed to do with other people that you need to have consensus on. There's a lot of confusion. And so I think the journey for a lot of people is they go, okay, Christianity, and then, oh, Torah is really nice. And then, oh, but I don't want Judaism. Oh, but there's so much confusion and anger here. What do I do? And at that point, people either jump off the Torah boat and they go back to Christianity. And I've seen this. They go to like Orthodox Christianity or atheism or Islam, even, because like this is not. It just becomes too confusing sometimes. Or they can embrace, they can embrace the stages of Judaism, and that doesn't mean embracing, blindly and following like a cult. We can still have our minds and use discernment and have our convictions and use our conscience and things like that. But we shouldn't reject history, and we have people that are doing that. They're rejecting American history. They're rejecting Jewish history. And they want to make it seem like, the Bible and the Torah is a new revelation that was just given by God to them in this century. And it hasn't been. This is an ancient walk, and we should refer to the ancients as well.
Well, Yeshua points it out to the woman at the well, he says, you know, you it was the Samaritan woman, and he said, "You Samaritans worship, but you don't know what you're worshiping." And he said, "Salvation comes through the Jews." So if we're followers of Yeshua, and he's our Rebbe, then we need to hold to what he said. And he says, if you're going to be part of my group, it's got to be through Judaism. You know,
So he
that's the
says
way I take it.
salvation is of the Jews.
That's what I take it as.
Yeah. Okay. And then the next thing it discusses, or another thing that it discusses in chapter 1, we're talking about Israel, the people, that specific section, is that our people began as one family, tracing its roots back to Avraham, the Hebrew. Midrashically, we consider him the first Jew, but there really wasn't Torah, certainly wasn't Judaism as we know it today. But he's the father because, he was the first one to cross over. And many of us have also crossed over. And so we attribute him as he's like the first honorary Jew, you know. And then I love how Rabbi Chaim Donin Halevi says this. He says, he calls us God intoxicated. We're intoxicated. We're like drunk with Hashem, drunk with his words, with his ways. And sometimes I feel like that because, other people, when they look at our walk, they're like, that's crazy, So it's like we're intoxicated, right? But it keeps us strong and it keeps us successful, keeps us going, keeps us healthy. It keeps us with a strong faith. And so we grew, Abraham's family grew. And it says, our sages say that when it says that he made souls, we say that mean in the Torah, it says that he made men or something like that. I forgot how it's translated in English, but in the Hebrew, our sages say it says he made souls, meaning he converted people to Judaism wherever he traveled. And so that's partly how his nation grew. And so we became a nation with a common language and a shared destiny. That's why it's so important to know and learn Hebrew. This is our national language. Okay? And Abraham's monotheistic faith and covenant with God identifies us as adherents of a special faith. My Breslov rabbi, he said that he doesn't really like the term Orthodox Judaism because that was actually a term, it was a term given to us by, I think, the Reform movement, if I remember correctly. We were just Jews. It was just Judaism before that. And so he likes to call it, instead, he likes to call it Torah true Judaism. That's how he likes to describe his faith. I like to use the word neo-Hasidic Judaism because we have that element of, Hasidism in our particular brand of Judaism that we subscribe to, but we don't live necessarily in a Hasidic community.
True. Yeah.
Any thoughts before I go on to the next part?
Um, there's a big push for people to track down their DNA, right? And even if you go to like these DNA sites, Ancestry.com and 23andMe and all these different things, they'll say this problematic with finding Jewish DNA because it's so much more than father to son, mother to son. It is that there is a genetic link, from the children of Abraham, but there's also the converts throughout history that have been, Russian, have been African, have been people from Asia, all over the world. So the diverse makeup of what is a Jew is encapsulated by its people, right? There is a a great rabbi from, I don't remember the exact reference, but he basically said, what do we do if the Laviant becomes apostate? And all of a sudden, the people that are actually following the Torah, or he gave the example of the Philippines. You know, do we ignore, you know, these Jews that are, you know, take the majority of the actual observant Jews, and that's a dichotomy of our people is, you know, it's the people that are doing the Torah, the people that are following it out. There's a midrash that when we left Egypt, that about 80% of us died, and people from all over the world, the 70 nations, came with us and joined with us, and went through the waters of the Red Sea and became part of Israel. And I think that's happening every day. People are being added to the numbers, you know. So don't be discouraged if you go in ancestry and you don't have any Ashkenazi, or, you know, even that is a guess, you know, because it's, you know, it said Mashiach himself in the book of Ezekiel will have to bring out Kohanim from the nations, because there won't be enough. So Hashem has got it all under control.
Yeah. Yeah, I did my DNA testing, and I know I have Spanish blood. I've seen pictures of my Spanish grandmother, but it didn't show up. Not even my Spanish line showed up. So the DNA tests, I think they're nice if you find Jewish ancestry in it. It can be encouraging, but if you don't find it, it doesn't matter, because you know, first of all, it's not 100% reliable. The more DNA goes into their database, that, you know, your results look different. It changes. But the ultimate thing is not your DNA. The ultimate thing is, do you accept the covenant of Torah? That is the most important thing about being a Jew, and that's what you know, all my rabbis say. So the next part that I want to discuss from the book is membership and kinship. Talks about how Jews everywhere regard themselves as members of an expanded, sometimes far-flung family, and that membership in our family derives from the mother, but is open to all who share our faith. Now, this is of course argued in this is argued in conservative Judaism and Reform Judaism, where they accept patrilineal, you know, the patrilineal line for Jewish identity, and also for many Sephardic Jews who are Benei Avraham, who come from families who were forced to convert to Judaism, and so they may not have, excuse me, I'm sorry, who are forced to convert to Christianity from Judaism, and they don't like the fact that they are not considered Jewish anymore because their mother or grandmother are halakhically not Jewish. And so I would say to those people, and this is what, you know, we were with a Sephardic rabbi who specialized in Benei Avraham for a while, and and I see this as being true also for a lot of just South American Jews. Even if you are not halakhically Jewish through your mother, that's Jewish law, that's halakha, right? That Judaism is from your mother or grandmother, and we don't need to change that. That's a legal way to identify who a Jew is. But also, according to one of my rabbis, who's very rationally minded, modern Orthodox, he says that halakha was put in place for practical reasons. It was because there was never any question who was your mother, because you came out of her womb, right? But it could always be questioned who the father is, you know, for various reasons. And so even though you're not halakhically Jewish, if your soul is Jewish, if you were raised Jewish, you know, if you want to be Jewish, you can become Jewish. It doesn't have to be hard. even though some people try to make it. Um, you know, it's more about your willingness, and it's more important that you are willing to walk in Torah and Judaism than the fact that your blood may or may not be Jewish. And the third point is that converts to Judaism become full partners in our heritage, sharing our privileges and burdens. And especially for Benei Avraham, I've seen Sephardic rabbis, what they've done is, even though they may not be halakhically Jewish, when they do a conversion ceremony, quote unquote conversion ceremony, they don't call it a conversion, they call it a return, even though they're not halakhically Jewish, because they do have Jewish ancestry somewhere down the line. Any thoughts or comments on that, or should I go to the next slide?
I had one thing. I've heard, studying conversion and hearing from a lot of converts on social media, rabbis will often say that no matter what your DNA says, if you seek Torah and you seek to convert, that your neshama was at Mount Sinai, that you always were Jewish in the first place.
Exactly. We hear that sometimes, and then on the other end, I feel we also hear this: you're not halakhically Jewish, just go and eat pork, just go and keep Christmas, just do the no-hide laws, forget about everything else. You don't need to do it. Don't burden yourself. Don't worry about it. So I hear both sides, and I'm like, well, I don't think it's good to discourage people. We shouldn't force people to convert, but I also believe that's not good to discourage them if they want something higher or better for themselves. I understand, turning people away as a test. I can see that. I can understand the wisdom in that, but not discouraging. I think there's a difference, between testing someone and truly discouraging, truly trying to discourage someone from coming closer to Hashem. Basically, I believe that's what it is. Conversion to Judaism is a way of coming closer to Hashem.
So one of the reasons why Shammai is so very harsh to a degree is he took the stance, and I think Yeshua took kind of a similar stance from him, in that he was just going to give everybody a benefit of the doubt that they were Jewish, right? Somewhere down the line, they were either a hidden Jew. So like there's discussions of like Hillel, where Hillel is like, well, you can sell your grain for, this and, that. And Shammai's like, well, they can sell the grain, but as long as, they eat it before Passover. Because what are you causing a hidden Jew to sin? So Shammai was like, we don't know. We don't know if this person is trying to come back to Judaism. They're at the door and you reject them. And now you've got to stand before the Almighty and say, I was bringing this person in, and you shut the door in their face, So he was like, look, if you're going to be in our community, this is Shammai. You got to do what we do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know. Okay, the next part is about being inclusive and universal. Now, Jews don't always seem inclusive, and I've tried. Sometimes I go to Orthodox Jewish events, and I try to invite my friends, and they're like, "Oh, I don't feel welcome there," and it's like, well, I'm sorry. Jewish people have had a lot of trauma, so sometimes it's sometimes Jews have a natural tendency for exclusivity. And I felt it, the first time I went, even to a Messianic Jewish congregation. I didn't feel welcome. You don't feel the same, open arms, embrace. But I mean, trauma is real. And I don't think we should, we don't think we need to expect that from a community. Although it is nice, it's very nice if they do show us that. But I think we also have to understand, many people have to understand, that Jews have been through a lot of persecution and trauma, including today. It never stops. And so that's why we have a natural tendency for exclusivity. But despite our tendencies for exclusivity, there's always been outreach to the world. Maybe not in terms of conversion, but certainly in terms of just being a light to the world. Rabbi Schneerson was very much like that. So was Rabbi Nachman. And of course, Yeshua was the king of that. And our sanctuary in Yerushalayim is, as the prophets say, and as Yeshua said, a house of prayer for all peoples. And Jews have always known that it's for all people. So our emphasis on particularism, reflects the noblest form of universalism. Okay, so the reason why we want to be so particular about our laws is because we want to serve Hashem correctly so that he will accept our service so that we can be a light unto the world. Our exclusivity shouldn't, our particularness in terms of, the strictness that we observe Torah, we're not doing it, or we shouldn't be doing it to push people away. The reason why we are very particular is because we want to serve Hashem correctly. And then by serving Hashem correctly, we can bring others to him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I know some people feel like, Judaism, it's like, oh, you do this and you do that. And it's like some of my friends, when I became Jewish, she's like, well, I can't even invite you over to my house anymore because I don't know what to cook for you. I wouldn't eat their food. And it's like, well, can you just be my friend? Like, does it have to be, does it have to be like, do I have to eat your your treif meat for you to accept me as a friend? Like, can you see past that? And sometimes it's a stumbling block to people, but it doesn't have to be seen that way. It's all a matter of perspective, I believe. Okay, and then the next part is that our sense of kinship may be more mystical than rational, defying simple categorization. And a lot of Jews will define Judaism and who is a Jew in different ways, because Jews are more than just a race. And Rav Safa says this also. We're more than just a race or a religion or a nation. We're a people. That's a very simple way to describe us, but that's because we can't be bottled into one category. And our divine command as a nation is to be a kingdom of priests for Hashem and a holy nation. So in reality, we're all Kohanim in the most generic sense of the word, which is servants or ministers of Hashem. Every single Jew. And this is why we have particular laws. This is why we have to stand out from the rest, just as the Kohanim were separate from the rest of Israel.
And in times of persecution, when Hitler came, it didn't matter if it was the most outward Hasidic strimal wearing fuzzy hat with a big beard and peyote, or if it was somebody that was agnostic or atheist, right? A Jew is a Jew, right? And once the conversion happens, if you walk away, it's you're just a Jew that's wayward, right? We're all in it together.
Yeah, I see that the stark contrast between Judaism and Christianity, in that Christians are always trying to disqualify other Christians, and they're always trying to say, oh, they're not a real Christian because they didn't do XYZ. They're not oh, we're like, oh, well, Hitler claimed to be a Christian. Like, oh, well, he wasn't really a Christian. It's like, well, oh, the Pope really isn't a Christian, blah, blah, blah. Catholics aren't really Christians, and Catholics, oh, Protestants aren't really Christians, etc. In Judaism, we do not do that. It's black and white. Who is a Jew? You converted, or your mother or your grandmother was Jewish. And you can do all these bad things, but you're still Jewish. And that is, it seems like it could be negative, because then we have a lot of stains, we have a lot of stains in Judaism. And people can give us a bad name because we admit, okay, yes, they're Jewish. Yes, they're a Jew. They did something horrible, but they're a Jew. But I also feel it's more honest, it's more honest. They're a Jew. Like, okay, yeah, they're bad, but they're a Jew. But also, I also believe that it can help this strong Jewish identity, and the fact that you cannot shake off, according to Judaism, you cannot shake off your Judaism. What this means is that I believe that there's a stronger bond between you and this faith, so that even if you stray, you know that your original, or your covenant with Hashem, according to other Jews, it still stands. And this can really, I believe, draw you back, this Jewish identity. And this is one of the big reasons why I wanted to convert, for my children. I wanted them to have this Jewish identity that cannot be stolen, that cannot be questioned. I mean, people can question them if they want, but if you know Jewish law, it doesn't matter, because you know what is legitimate or not. It doesn't matter who questions you, who tells you, oh, you don't have Jewish blood, you weren't born Jewish, you're not doing this right, you don't know enough Hebrew, you don't know enough blah, 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 you don't do this right, that right. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. I know that I'm Jewish. I was covenanted into this religion, and it cannot be stolen from you. And I think that sometimes it can be a negative thing, but it can also be a very beautiful and a grounding thing for Jews. And Jewish history is intertwined with with the history of every other nation and empire. And that's also very fascinating to connect yourself with this faith, with this religion, with this history, with this people that has influenced the history of the whole entire world. Avraham is known as the father of many nations, and the Kabbalists say that even Hinduism was born from Judaism. Is somewhere down the line, and a Hindu who is very learned will even say there's really only one God, and all the other gods, they're just faces, they're just manifestations, so to speak, similar to what Christianity says. But ultimately, they know that there's only one God. And I thought it was really interesting where Chaim Donen Halevi said that the Jewish people are like a river in the ocean. I'm like, that's impossible. A river, once it flows into the ocean, it loses itself and it just becomes part of the ocean. You can't distinguish it anymore, right? And that's what should have happened to the Jewish people. That is the natural course of things. But because Hashem is with us, he'd never let that happen. He always kept the Jewish people distinct, and he kept his ways and his Torah and his people alive. And because of that, we have been, we're respected by ancient cultures such as China. Chinese are not friendly towards other religions like Christianity and Islam. But China, and I'm not trying to say that China is, good or bad. I'm just stating a fact that the Chinese people are also a very ancient people, and their language, you can see traces of the Bible in their language. The pictography in their letters and in their words are based on biblical stories. That's how old they are. But the Chinese government respects Judaism because it is an ancient, it's an ancient people, just like Chinese people are. And so that's a miraculous thing that we have survived for so long, despite our small number.
Japan also. There's a Mayim Messiso, that song. The story about the water and Jewish folk song. It's sung through day schools and kindergartens all throughout Japan. It's a song that generations of Japanese know. Like even before World War II, they were singing it. So it's like in the zeitgeist, to quote a popular word in Japan. And they said, well, it's just part of their culture now. There's this Jewish folk song, and you ask any person, the vast majority of Japanese, and oh yeah, that's our, yeah, they don't even know it's Jewish. Like,
yeah, a lot of some of them do though. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, yes, and also, of course, there's a lot of contributions that the Jewish people have made in religion, especially all the monotheistic religions, but even some of the pagan religions, we can see influences from Judaism. Also, scientific advancements and social philosophy. It's sometimes good, sometimes bad. Um, you know, um, but this is because of the promise that, Hashem said that through you and your descendants will all the families of the earth be blessed. And as one of my rabbis say, that the greatest blessing that the Jewish people and Judaism has contributed to the world are the values of the Torah, which has been actually brought to all the world through Christianity, but it's Judaism. It's really all the principles of Christianity actually come from Judaism. And then there's skeptical Jews and secular Jews, which we can't escape because we acknowledge all Jews as Jews, whether they are good or not. But it's very interesting that, Jews, whether they are skeptical, whether they're atheists or not, they still feel a bond of kinship to other Jews. And it goes both ways. Like secular Jews feel bound to religious Jews, and religious Jews also feel bound to secular Jews. And I saw a beautiful example of this on, when we did our conversion. We went to New York and we were invited to an Orthodox rabbinic family to their house for lunch on Shabbat. So they were modern Orthodox. So they're very strict, no electronics, etc. But their best friends were I don't want to say secular. Their best friends were Reconstructionist Jews. So they're like Reform, but maybe even more kind of out there. They're Reconstructionist Jews, and you could see the difference in the way they dressed, in the things that they did or didn't do on Shabbat. But they considered themselves best friends. And I thought, wow, this is what I want my Judaism to look like. I want it to look so inclusive that I can look at another person, Jew or non-Jew, who may be on a completely different walk as me and still love them. That's the kind of Judaism that I want to practice. And that's what I saw on that Shabbat. I thought that was very beautiful. Okay, Rav Safa, do you think you could explain this part of it?
So reading the slide, our mission is to bring the world to acknowledge God's sovereignty and accept his received values. Our
revealed
vision
values.
I'm sorry, revealed value. Our vision is a world perfected under God's reign, where all mankind will call upon his name. Our divine purpose is to serve as a means by which blessing will be brought to all of the earth.
To all the families of the earth.
All the families are there. You know, I think as believers of Yeshua, believers as in, I should probably say followers of Yeshua, um, different than Christianity in that we follow his guidance in Torah. Right? He didn't have a school of he didn't have a Talmud. He had Talmudim, but there wasn't very much, and there was purpose because our sages. He expected us to go with what our sages based on what he said. Those who sit in the Moses seat. But I think he was of the mind that through him and through the Torah, all mankind will be brought under that sukkah, as it were. Because when the Mashiach comes, whatever form he comes, I don't want to get into whatever that form is, but when Mashiach comes, there is a indication that we all have to, we from all over the nations, we Jews and the nations have to come and present ourselves for Sukkot. We all have to celebrate it. So we're all brought under one canopy. We're all under one house. At that point, around the world, there'll be one Torah for the native and for the foreigner. It won't be, well, I'm gonna, and if you don't come, then there's going to be consequences. But there's a reason why 3 times when the Torah was given, from Mount Sinai, our sages say in the Midrash that it went out in the 70 nations, 70 tongues, very similar to Pentecost in the Christian tradition. So these tongues went out and people saw the words. Maybe people from Egypt or from these various places that were part of Egypt, they saw in their language, they understood what was being said. And Midrash even says that those who were not even there, his word went out to all the nations of the world so that we would not have an excuse. We would all have an ability to present ourselves saying, from way back that we all had the chance to receive the Torah, So, and then when we went into the land, we were instructed. Now, this is a miracle. I don't know how this happened, but we inscribed on pillars the whole Torah. And not only that, we wrote in all 70 languages. So if it's not just for us, if it's not for the world, why include all the languages? Hashem wants us all to be. He wants it just like a Venn diagram, right? He wants it. He wants to go. We started here, and we're going up, and then we're going to go back to where we started. Right? That's what he wants. He wants us all to have communion with him, and he made a way through the Torah.
Is there anyone else that would like to say anything, whether about this or anything else at this time?
Well, I can comment, I suppose. I learned what the word zeitgeist means today. Thank you for that, Rabbi Safa. Basically, what you're going to be doing here, if you're going through this process, is a confirmation of a spiritual move, right? Conversion doesn't necessarily make you Jewish. You could fake it, you could pretend it. What makes you Jewish is Hashem. The conversion process is designed to demonstrate your sincerity to the Jewish community and be part of that community. When you're becoming part of the community of the people of Israel, like, for example, on my end, I was born Jewish. I was a Jewish mother. As far as I know, there's never been a Gentile in my line. But I had no connection, no identity. So whether I was born Jewish or not, I felt that I needed to have this connection, this identity, this understanding. And there are people that have occurred throughout time, but now a lot in this day and age, who want to identify with being Jewish or want to become Jewish or feel they are Jewish and are going through this confirmation process. But the ultimate identity, I mean, we'll bring you back to this one element here, is that how does Hashem want you to serve him? How did Yeshua, those who follow him as the Mashiach, how did he want you to serve Hashem? You don't really see a creation of a new religion. As a matter of fact, if you look in Acts, what you will see is the idea that there was a tolerance for Gentiles who came to believe that Yeshua was the Mashiach. And Judaism was alien to them. And it really is for a lot of people who don't understand why we do what we do. And it's just completely off. They can't even conceive of it. It's complicated. But for those who are called, right? For those who are chosen, this is your way of understanding what it is that you are doing, understanding the commitment and the acceptance of a reality that you become Jewish and fulfilling that commitment to say, okay, I'm going to be part of the Jewish people. And as we go through this parts, we're going to hear about the culture, we're going to hear about the Torah, we're going to hear about the various different elements. The idea is Hashem is taking you on this journey. We are providing the information that Hashem is ultimately going to use to construct the kind of Jew that you're going to be.
Amen.
Was there anything else that anyone wanted to discuss about anything at all?
Or have any questions?
We want to hear from you.
Good evening, everyone. This is Bukika. Again, as usual, you guys just are phenomenal in how you explain everything. So basically, if someone is from another state and they're trying to go through the conversion process, as far as the classes go, how would that work?
Well, Atzal Yahoo is from another state, and so he basically joins us online, and his family tries to join us for the holidays when they can. They can't always make it for all the holy days, but and then the conversion has to be done in person. So you would have to. We would like people to come for the holy days as possible, but the conversion must be done in person. And I've tried to talk to our rabbis, or I've tried to talk to one of our rabbis about doing a Zoom conversion, but he would not have it.
No,
so that
definitely no.
I
For
mean,
my
there's some people doing that, and I guess more.
Oh, wow.
Liberal.
Okay. Well, I know for myself, for my conversion that I did last year, I had to travel to New York. So that's what I did. So yes, it's been almost a year. It'll be a year on August 16th. But I was just curious about this. So typically, I know it can vary, but typically once you do your classes and everything, so when the conversion happens, is it with a group of people? Because that's what I've seen and have experienced. It's like a group of people, and they that everybody does it together.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sometimes we've just converted one person. And sometimes there's two families. So it all depends on who's ready, and then who in the Beit Din is available at that time. And sometimes we do conversions in Michigan. But we've been doing most of them down here in Texas. And Rav Safa is on our Beit Din, and Rav Reuven, and then we use one other person who is our friend. We use the third person. It can be we've used different people for the third person. It's often though the third person on our Beit Din is an Orthodox Jew who does not believe in Yeshua, but is open to Yeshua.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's all. That's all I was gonna say.
So okay, assuming that you go through the Beit Din and they approve you, as far as the mikvah goes, is the conversion done at an Orthodox synagogue? Is it more so done like the mikvah? Is it done like literally in a body of water on the outside? Like, how does that work?
We have used a mikvah in a traditional / Orthodox synagogue before, but I don't know if that's available to us anymore ever since COVID. So most of our conversions are in Texas. If they're done in Texas, they're in a kosher mikvah that is a natural body of water. We've done it at Lake Whitney because it is what's the word? It is
spring fed.
Spring fed, yeah. And then we've also done it at Joe Pool Lake. And we've had we've made sure that whatever place we use was approved by our Orthodox rabbi, or at least one of them. In Michigan, Rav Ariel Manning has built his own kosher mikveh, and it's very, very kosher. It's kosher 3 ways. So that is an indoor kosher mikveh. That's also possible. And I think he's moved, so he's building a new one. So I don't even know that that's even available right now. But when it does become available, that could be an option too. I think the hardest part is getting the Beit Din together, because usually all 3 members, there has to be 3, and they're supposed to be. We try to do it to Orthodox standards, meaning that the 3 people have to be Shomer Shabbos, which includes not driving on Shabbat. And we do that because we have Orthodox rabbis that guide us, and that is their standard as well. So and that way we can say that our conversions are Orthodox, because the 3 people on the Beit Din are practiced in an Orthodox way. So Shomer Shabbos, of course, kashrut and stuff like that, everything else, but being Shomer Shabbos is one of the biggest ones.
Okay. And then the classes, are they held on a particular day? Like, for example, like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, like basically what will the class schedule be?
Well, actually, this was going to be it. This is going to be it. It's every Sunday
Okay.
evening. Does that? But I mean, we're going to record it, so if it doesn't work for you, sometimes you can just listen to it, and if you have any questions, you can either bring them here, or you could email them to us, or anything.
Okay. So your Sundays work for me. So it's every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, correct?
Yeah, that's what we have for now.
Okay.
Hopefully that works for everyone.
Yes, that's fine for me.
Yeah. So
Thank you for showing up.
No problem. Again, as usual, you guys deliver. I love the discussions. Very informative. So basically, like, so a person would start attending the discussions on Sunday evenings, and then from there, what will be the next step? What would I have to do?
Join us for a hug. Join us for our next hug, which would be the next major one is Rosh Hashanah, and Sukkot is also a very fun one. And we have there's a hotel nearby, but we have a very large house, and Rav Reuven's mother lives right next door, and she also has a very large house. So you could just stay in one of our rooms as well.
Okay, Rosh Hashanah is in October this year, correct?
I think so. That sounds
Yeah, I
right.
think so.
Yeah, mid October. Yeah, it's going toward the weekends this year. So
Mhm.
I think it's like Thursday, Friday, I believe. Let me look here. I have to pull up my calendar.
July. It's July right now, so 3 more months. We're in Devarim already, right?
Mhm.
Quick.
Some
Okay.
wild stuff about in the midrash about Phineas. Some pretty good stuff, but anyways, I get off track. Rosh Hashanah this year is the 3rd and the 4th. So Thursday, Friday.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where are you located, by the way?
I am located in Maryland. I'm in Montgomery County, Maryland. Never been to Texas. I know I have family there, but I've never been. I would love to visit.
We actually previous to coming to Houston, well, we've been Texans all our life off and on, but we lived in Northern Virginia for 3 years. We lived in Culpeper County,
Mm-hmm.
so we would go up to Silver Springs and go to the kosher Chinese food restaurant and go to the kosher market and all that. So we really enjoyed that.
Okay. Sounds wonderful. So, okay, so basically, let me see. So start attending the Sundays. I know I have to get the book to be a Jew. So I know I have to get that and start reading. Anything else that you recommend that I do in the means? I mean, I know basically the high holy because I've done all of the holidays before I converted. I you know, I mean, with Judaism, it's just you never stop learning, you never stop reading. So of course I do
Right.
reading and everything else and try to immerse myself into the halakha, the laws as much as I can. So anything else that you guys recommend that I do in the meantime?
Do you have the sitter? Do you have the sitter that we use?
No, sir, I do not. I know I followed it before, like when I was on, like when I come online, I will follow it.
Mhm.
So you use the online version of it?
Yes.
Okay. You should probably have, you don't have to use ours, but you should have one. And you should have an Orthodox Siddur at
Okay.
home of your own. It could be ours or it could be, I have the Breslov Siddur. My husband, we have a lot of art scroll Siddurs too. So, we have uh, what's that one? The more modern one, the one that the Jonathan Sachs endorses or endorsed. Anyways, we have several Siddurs.
That was the
Okay.
one for Shachrit service on Shabbat. It's pretty concise. And I know there's a rabbi who's pretty popular, Rabbi Friedman. He's got a big, long, white beard. We call him the Jewish Santa Claus. And
Rabbi Freeman, he's on YouTube.
Yeah,
I love him.
He's all about philosophy and stuff. But if you're new to Judaism, it's not like Christianity where you can jump around, right? So each individual shul has their own, kind of way of doing things, and so it may take a little bit of time. And so a lot of that is get the specific sitter they use, and that way you can get into the phraseology we use in during our services. So I know once we got ours as a family, it was night and day. So the first we're like, whoa, hold on a second, what is this? And it took a little bit, but once we plugged in and actually had skin in the game, and we're able to follow along. It was pretty awesome.
Our Siddur is made to be easy to use, so I think it is a good starter Siddur, and especially if you're going to be part of our community, it would be good to have your own copy. You can get it if you go to our website, on the home page. You go all the way down. It's not very easy to find. I'm sorry. I should probably change that. Let me see. One of these books. Oh, there we go. Benei Avraham Siddur. And then this is where you can buy it. You don't get this because we give away the online one for free. But I think hardcover is nice because it'll last longer. This one we made for a friend who their congregation was not Messianic. They were just regular Jewish, but they really liked that our Siddur was very friendly, like beginner friendly. So we made this version for them. But so it's almost the same, except for it takes out, it doesn't have the Avinu, the Lord's Prayer, Avinu Sheba Shemayim.
Yes.
It doesn't have that. And also after the end of the Shema, we say Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. But in this one it says Adonai Lehechem Emet. It repeats that phrase. That's the difference between these two. I don't know if there's other difference. There might be more differences, but those are the two main ones. And really what any messianic things that we've added to ours, it's to someone who's very objective, even if they're Orthodox Jew, but they really know, their stuff, they shouldn't be offended by anything that we put in here either. Because we didn't really put anything here that really needs to be objectionable to an Orthodox Jew unless they just really, really don't like Yeshua.
Okay.
I got a suggestion for you.
Yes,
my
sir.
wife is not typically a social person. Her name's Natasha Chavala, and she usually doesn't ever being around other women, but this social community of women at Benei Avraham is particularly special. She has rarely found women that she could get along with or even, have a continuous conversation with. And there's a whole subculture, I wouldn't call it a subculture, but there's a whole culture to a Jewish womanhood that is not only unique and special in Judaism, the sisterhood element of Judaism is immensely powerful. And I think one of the things that she enjoyed is she could literally fellowship and have fun with and share common values with the Jewish women of Benei Avraham. And I recommend that if you get the opportunity, you see them on Facebook. They're very friendly. We haven't met any of them that ain't friendly. But I recommend that you connect with them because it's a very unique and special thing to be a Jewish woman and to learn to make the challah, the different ways of doing it, to learn to care for a Jewish family. It's a wonderful part of Benei Avraham, and I think Benei Avraham is probably the best synagogue that I've ever been to that really has that female friendship. I recommend you reach out to them on a personal level.
I don't think a lot of us are very active on Facebook, though. That's a problem. But
true.
you know what? We have to add, Bukika, we need to add you to our Benei Avraham global chat. And then once it's on Signal. You have to get this software called Signal. Signal.org. Okay, you have to get this app, and then we can add you to that group.
Okay.
And then yeah, we're more active there, I think, than on Facebook. And also, but the one that's for people who haven't visited us in person isn't as active as the one that is. We have two groups. We have one for people who have visited us in person, and one for people who haven't visited us in person yet. And so once you visit us in person once, I can add you to that local group, and then that's where we're more active, and we talk more to each other and stuff. But I should start a women's signal group though. I think I should do that. Then it
Well,
then it is
there was for a little bit.
on
There
Signal.
was like a prayer group. There was like a prayer group or whatever.
Oh, I don't remember that. No, I think I was on
It
Facebook.
is on Facebook. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was on Facebook, but we're not very active on. Oh gosh, I even forgot about that. So yeah, I think I should start it on Signal. Then I think we'll be more active. Maybe. I don't know, I'm not sure. But you got to visit us in person as soon as you can. You're gonna love it. I'll make sure of it.
So
Thank you,
Kiva,
ma'am.
thank you, Bakika, Miss Hall. Kiva, Lori, Andrew, do you have any questions or
Comments,
any comments?
suggestions.
Also, if you have any questions or anything that's you don't feel comfortable doing in public, you can send us an email or